Good moment, good moment. Welcome to NSOL Radio. And I am your spiritual life coach, Robbie Cornelius. Join us for soul conversations that are outside the box and inside the heart. You are the key to life. You are the truth. My message is you. Well, I want to welcome everyone to NSOL Radio. I hope all is beautiful in your reality. I know everything is amazing in my reality. About an hour ago, I came out of meditation, and I'm feeling like a little butterfly right now, coming straight out of a cocoon, and I'm feeling wonderful. Part of the reason I am so vibrant today, which I'm always vibrant, 90% of the time, but my vibrancy has magnified today because I have an individual joining us today that I highly respect, that I highly honor. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to give a disclaimer because I'm going to attempt to use words to describe an individual that I think can't truly be described by words. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you that among other awesome spiritual creations, our guest today is the executive producer of the documentary, The Business of Dis-ease, a compelling documentary about, you guessed it, the business of dis-ease. Now, I seen where Foster Gamble said that this film offers a compelling case and a critical message. This is amazing, coming from someone of his stature. Now, this film was named the best documentary in the Marina Del Rey Film Festival in December 2014. In this film, Sonia, from my perception, empowers you with the awareness to recognize when the drug and medical industry is using hypnotic marketing techniques to prime your mind for illness and dis-ease. Now, one thing I get from studying Sonia's material is that, she's not truly interested in bashing anyone. She simply wants to make you aware of the truth. And all of you spiritual freethinkers here at NSOL Radio know that I have an acronym for the truth, TRUTH. I call it the reality underneath the hype. And here to deliver her reality underneath the hype, here to deliver you her truth, I have the one and only Sonia Barrett. Welcome to NSOL Radio, Sonia.
Oh, thank you so much. What a great intro. Thank you.
I'm really grateful. I'm really honored to grace your presence and to share this moment in space with you. So I just thank you so much. So what have you been up to today? What's your daily routine been like today?
Well, today I went and got an oil change.
Very spiritual, very spiritual.
Because in the game, I need my oil change in my car.
Indeed.
So I went. You thought I was going to say, well, I, sat and, communicated with the masters. Well,
right.
I got an oil change.
I love the way you bring you include your humanism into your spirituality.
Yeah, because it's that's all it is. It's all the grand illusion game human experience, and I just embrace it all. So I make it fun. I'm not saying every day, every single moment is just like, oh, yippee, No, I'm experiencing those days where I'm going, what in the hell was I thinking when I came here? What was I?
Exactly. Well, Sonia, for the listeners that are not yet aware of who you are, could you explain, the process that led you to where you are today? What inspires you?
Well, curiosity. Let me start out that way. back in and I say 1992, but in all honesty, I've always been like this for as long as I can remember and my family can remember. I've always had this curious streak as a child about reality, about this thing we call life. And even as a teenager, I've always loved sci-fi. I was interested, I remember, in the Bermuda Triangle, trying to understand it. Just so many different things. Edgar Casey, just trying to wrap my mind around this something that I felt was there that I just couldn't quite put my hands on. But in 92, I think was a really huge turning point for me. I got divorced and I really just needed to understand just so much about my life for like those 14 years. What is this thing we call life? What was that all about? Whatever it is I had experienced, what did it all mean? And for me, at that point, I went on this quest. I did at that point because most of us have did grow up in the church. At one point, I did take my Bible. I go, okay. Everybody always says, read your Bible, read your Bible. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna just go through this one more time. You see what have I missed here? And so I still have that Bible today, actually, all marked up. But I took the Bible and I said, okay, went through, and there were things that I'm like, well, the minister never really talks about this, and this. So I started to, on my own, just get this feeling of seeing, decoding it, or seeing more than what I was being taught. And then I read a book called Masters of the Far East, and I read a couple of books by Shirley MacLaine, and then I set them all to the side, and then I was done because my whole thing was I just felt that there was a way for me to really connect with a much deeper place, beyond, on my own, without anything at all, any tools. So I didn't know how to meditate because we just know how to pray. But I sat, and day after day, I would try to do this thing. I didn't know what was supposed to happen, or how it was supposed to go. And then one day, it just all sort of just came about, where I just felt myself enter this whole other space. It started with breathing, which I didn't know anything about, but suddenly I started doing this kind of breathing, which then just sort of opened me up. I understand it more now. Back then, I only understood it so far. So, where I'm able to now take it out of any mystical space and understand the things that are just natural to us, the things that we can naturally do, that are just all part of this makeup and this design of the experience. And so back then, that's what I did. And so for 10 years straight, I began to get really comfortable, and trusting of what I was understanding. My ability then to be able to ask questions, things that I was curious about, and to be able to get that information, coming in, and I would write it down. So I don't say channel, because I wasn't channeling anyone, or any being. There was no, in my reality then, there was nothing like that. And I'll say more on that in a little bit. But so I started writing things down, and I'd never taken a physics class ever. And I was starting to understand science in terms of reality in a way that I did not know before. And I would write all of this information down. Anyway, over time, what happened is things would jump out at me. I could be in a bookstore or wherever with somebody, and something would jump out at me that would confirm what the things that I was now knowing and things I was writing. Then
Mm.
it got to a point where um, I I could have a question, and I would be able to go, and I would actually just go and lay down, because I would go into this sort of in between sleep state, and then I would just be able to tap into whatever that answer need to be, whatever that answer was, it would come. Later on, I found out that that was kind of the same thing that Einstein was doing. That's how he would solve his formulas and stuff. It would be that in between state. So these are things that were happening to me, and I had no knowledge. I didn't know anything. I didn't even think I even knew the word metaphysics. I was just completely unaware of many of those things and or groups or anything like that. So I did do this on my own. And then over time, with the information I had collected, I realized, maybe I have a book here. And that's kind of how I ended up writing the holographic canvas, The Fusing of Mind and Matter. That information, some of that information evolved, however. By the time I got into that space of writing a book, and then I would be led to, other pieces of information that I could then use to support the things that I was saying. So that's kind of how that happened. It wasn't because I sat and I read all these books. I would reach a part in the writing and the information that I had, and that whatever would just that part of me would just tell me where to go to find that, pull that information scientifically that would support what I was talking about. And so this is how it all happens. Well, real quickly, what I learned, and just so people realize this, I learned that it wasn't that I was so different. I'm so different. But I was really driven. I had a real desire to know and to understand and to pierce a veil that was beyond the life as we know it to be, this physical life as we know it to be. And then I later realized, well, the reason why you could access that information is because everything is made up of information, and that it's all data. And so now when I share with people and I do workshops and retreats and so on, it's really about that. It's about people. It's not about what me and what I'm saying per se, but it's about helping people to re-engage with that part of themselves, to access the greater internet, the real big internet, that on that level. So that's where I'm coming from. So I do live in a different sense of freedom. I don't live with tons of restrictions per se. I just trust what I'm feeling, and I kind of move along those lines. So I don't take myself that seriously. I don't take any of it that seriously because I realize it's just a big joke. So
Oh my good. There's something I want to touch on so much. You've said so much that you may have heard. There's no words I can really use that can express how your message resonates with me. I know you've probably been flattered with so many nice things by so many people. But I will say that, you just confirmed for me what I've experienced in my own reality. You've confirmed when you told your story. I felt as if it was my story, all the way down to the point when you said you came to a point where you had to figure out what is this thing called life is all about. And when you said that, you've always been told to read your Bible, so you went and read the Bible and basically dissected it and decoded everything. And basically what I took from that is that it wasn't enough for you. When you decided to decode the Bible, what conclusion did you come to?
well, I mean, I saw that. How would I put it? I put it in a couple of different ways. One of the things terminology, I guess I've said, it's like a big clue book that's all mixed up, or like the first comic book. I mean,
That's
and
amazing.
and I also thought, one of the things I have to say that I did take away from it that was so empowering to me was the fact that um this being, people go, well, he didn't exist, or, for me, I'm like, okay, whatever. Whether he existed or not existed is not the issue for me, because somehow somebody put this story in here and there's something to it. And it was the fact that I would hear, greater works than these shall ye do. That statement would be forever so meaningful to me that I thought, well, if an individual like this did exist, and I'm skipping through all the other stuff, and I'm seeing bits and pieces here and there throughout the Bible that's telling me that there's something greater than this whole concept of church or religion, and that there's some incredible science involved. There's another scripture where I think it was with Nicodemus, because I haven't read my Bible in a while. Shame, shame, shame. Where I think there was a question that he asked, and I think Jesus responded by saying, "If I've told you of earthly things and ye believe not, how then can I tell you of heavenly things? How can I tell you which way the wind bloweth?" So the whole idea was, if I tell you of simple stuff, how am I going to tell you of scientific stuff? That's really what it was. How am I going to tell you how stuff really works? Not heaven in the sense of what people think, but we're talking on a bigger scale. How am I going to tell you how this stuff works scientifically if you don't even believe all the little basic things I tell you? So for me, it was decoding it from that standpoint. Another one was that scripture. It was also like on Melchizedek, and again, not going into the religious aspect of Melchizedek and that whole thing, but it was the fact that it was said, having neither beginning of days or end of life, and there were some other components to that, but there were a number of things for me that stood out that made me go, there's some stuff going on here in Ezekiel. And I mean, it was just so many things that was letting me know there was something going on beyond all the mixture in this Bible. They've tried to confuse everybody. There's something else here that is just extremely profound. And for me, I just felt like, you know what? Then I need to know, what are these greater works? What is it that because if this individual can do it, if this individual can turn water into wine, or whatever it is, then we should be able to do some of this stuff too. Now,
Exactly.
at the time, I didn't understand, again, the level of science that I understand now, because now it all just comes in naturally. But now there's so much that I do understand now about the whole design and construct of our reality, which are now looking at and understanding from a computerized standpoint. So I started to be able to see reality like you would take apart a clock,
Wow.
where I could pretty much, whatever somebody, asked me, if I didn't know something, I could just know it. And the only reason why I can is because I really just started to understand that all we have is patterns of information, patterns
Wow.
of data that I was then able to tap into. I'm able to decode. So everybody can do this. And that's like my biggest message to people, is like, there's nothing incredibly over the top special about me. It was just determination. Just what's the other word? I just had a real desire, like, that desire I'm talking about.
That's right. It's a desire that is beyond your own ego.
Exactly, and a commitment to this thing, this mystery. It's like, I gotta know.
It's actually hurting me not to know.
Exactly.
It's making me suffer not to even entertain this bigger calling, if you will.
Absolutely. As a child, one of the things, and I'm throwing this in because a lot of people don't look at it this way, but as a child, I remember thinking, this is like a big airport, arrivals and departures. I'm like, and people coming and people going. I'm like,
Holy wow, you just took me to another level with that.
And I was just like, doesn't anybody think this is weird? People die and we just bury them. And I'm like, doesn't anybody think this is weird? I'm like, how does everybody just kick back and accept that this is the way things are. And I'm like, so it's always puzzled me that this is like a big airport. People arriving and departing. There's always a flight coming in. There's always a flight
I
coming.
need to I need to take a break. I gotta put the top of my head back on because you blew my lid with that. You said that this is like a big airport where people arrive and depart. That I never saw it like that before. And when you said that, I got this image in my head of this big gigantic airport. That is fantastic.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's amazing. When you experienced this breathing in meditation that you described, was there ever a time that you had to overcome any fear when you experienced this?
I think then what was so interesting, then I think I had less fear than later on. And then I'd seen and experienced so many interesting things back then, but I didn't. And I think what happened is when I started out, I had already set in my mind that the only thing that I would ever, that I would deal with or encounter or would entertain would be only those things that were in what's the word I'd use in that were supporting
That
that
were
supported
empowering?
it would support my desire to know.
Mm.
um so I wasn't thinking, oh, well, what if I go into some dark place, or what if I run into beings that I wasn't even thinking that, because for me, that wasn't what I was about. I needed to cut through all that and see how stuff worked.
Mm.
And that kind of stuff to me, I think, was just like another stopover of engagement into some BS that I was not interested in.
Wow.
So I just needed to know how the clock works. I don't
Mm.
need to know all that. I don't need to deal with that other stuff. How does the clock work? And then once you cut through and you start seeing that, then you realize that everything else is just these experiences, that are happening, and you have a choice as to what you encounter and what you deal with. And that was, I think, in the very beginning, a conscious choice that I had made. And so I never dealt with, running into, as they say, reptilians or all that other.
Exactly.
I didn't even know about that anyway. But it was not. There was no energy. There was no welcoming energy for that.
That's amazing. When I experienced this, my experience was more like something was breathing me
Yeah.
that has been breathing me this whole time, but I just became aware of it. It's almost as if I fell asleep while I was
Mm-hmm.
awake.
Mm. That's a good way of putting it. But you're right. It's been described as that. That something is breathing you. Michael Cotton's work, who I'd interviewed, and they deal with the brain. Excuse me, the brain and expansion of the brain, and that's exactly how they refer to it. Like something, it's like that breath is breathing you, and it's hard to describe to some people, but it's
It
just
really
this.
is.
Yeah, but that's a good way of putting it, though. It is an incredible, and because it takes over. It,
Yeah,
it
it
just
really
takes
does. It
over.
really
Mm-hmm.
does. I had a quote that I feel like was, maybe I downloaded it into my own being, or maybe I decoded the information, if you will, that was already there. But this quote just popped out of nowhere from within me, and it was a quote. It was a silent quote in my own beingness that went something like, "You are not a body breathing breath, but you are breath breathing a body."
Wow, that is powerful. Wow, that is powerful right there, because that is exactly what it is. That's it right there. You hit it right on the money. That's right. And the vehicle, the body, is really the this incredible piece of technology has been designed so that the breath can move through it and have an engagement, a kind of experience with this reality that we've created, this other technology also of reality that we create. And we can feel and smell and taste and have emotions, which are electrochemical impulses, to process the reality. It's like circuitry, and that's what your body is. And it allows you to be able to process all of this stuff. It's amazing.
It really is. I want to speak about the Matrix, so to speak, and I'm going to quote you. I might paraphrase a tad, but I'll let you know what I'm paraphrasing. Maybe I didn't have to paraphrase in this, but you did say something that blew me away. You said that the Matrix is not all bad, it's good too. There's a yin and a yang, evil and good, black and white. Some people want to demonize the evil ones, but it's not about that. I see this Matrix as an opportunity for everyone to experience what they want from their reality.
If anybody gets a chance, they can go to YouTube also, just to let them know, because I do give a recent breakdown of the Matrix, which you can't really get into today, but I do talk about it on the various levels of a Matrix and what is the Matrix, because there's so much confusion about it. That it is a system. As it's defined as a womb. It's a construct within which a particular agenda of operation will take place. In this sense, a matrix. We can talk about the matrix on which level do I want to speak about it on. Let's speak about the matrix then of you've got the matrix of the universe, and then you've got the matrix of the planet, and that simply means that when we talk about, say, the matrix of the universe, we're speaking of the universe as a matrix, and that it has a specific um, format, a specific formula, specific plan design to accommodate all the other planets and the whole systems that are within it. And those systems, those planets, are designed specifically based on whatever the blueprint of the universe, the matrix, that matrix is set up for. Then you go to the one for the Earth itself, the planet. So then we've got that matrix, planet Earth matrix. And to make it even easier for people to understand, everything within that system, that matrix, is here existing based on the environmental laws of the design of that matrix, of that system. And so we breathe, we take in oxygen, it's the gaseous laws that we are able to operate under, because those gaseous laws are part of the blueprint design of what it is, what Earth is supposed to be like. Then you go to the matrix. We most people are familiar with, and the governmental system, all of that. And people think, yeah, we're in the matrix. They don't realize what a matrix is, and I think that's a great disadvantage, because then people trap themselves in a fear of always trying to run from something. You get people who are, oh, we got to find a way to get out of the matrix. You don't even know what you're trying to get out of. What are you talking about? Do you even know what you're talking about? We gotta escape.
That's right. That's
It's
amazing.
always out to get you, because yeah, that's the matrix. That's what they do. And and, and so you have that construct, and that construct of control. All of those things are always going to be, I think, part of the construct. And why is that? Because for every system, there has to be some rules that are made, some specific way of operation, so that it can run smoothly according to what that system represents. This system that we're in, that we call reality, is set up specifically to allow us to experience what it is to be human from the most limited level of possibility, with the opportunity to evolve beyond any rule, guideline, structure, or design.
Wow.
That is basically what you're dealing with. But if you don't know that, you feel caught, and limited to, and imprisoned by, when you don't understand it. And in the end, it's really your own mind and your own belief systems that are networked into the system's designs that are limiting, and you're just playing this dance with it. It's feeding back to you what you believe. It's supporting your belief system. And so if you think you're going to be completely under control all the time, somebody's got their thumb on you all the time, then the system has to feed that back to you, because
Indeed.
in the end, you are the master. You control the game.
Powerful.
You're cracking me up.
That's powerful. I gotta say this. You do have a wonderful, mystical relationship with words. It seems as if you. What I love about it is that you don't force your message. It seems as if you allow your message to flow through you. And I find that absolutely beautiful.
As I'm talking, I see, I can't explain it, but it's like I see things. Remember I was saying before, like a clock, it's like I
Yeah.
see how things are designed. I see how it's made. So I'm always seeing, even if I didn't know the answer to something, will see it. I will just I will just see it.
Wow.
And that's what makes it interesting. Now, what I find, and I know some people have heard me before go, yeah, she always says that. And I tell you why I make the statement, because this to me was an incredible honor. When I did a conference called ICM, which is a scientific conference, and and was on a panel invited to speak there with Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Emmett Gwazami, who's a physicist. And when Dr. Gwazami gets up to speak and he says, Sonia Barrett is a true mystic.
Oh.
I mean, that was like, because let me tell you, scientists are really particular. They don't get, unless you are one of them, because you don't know what you're talking about. But the truth of it is, could like match wits with them, because in terms of what they may use their scientific terminology, but I'm using other words and I'm saying the same thing. Doesn't matter what did they tell me. And what is even fabulous, Robbie, is the fact that we are the ones that are supposed to supersede scientific discoveries.
That's right.
We are the ones that are supposed to do that. We determine that. And then, yeah, they come along and give us the evidence, if you will. But we are supposed to, we don't wait on science. And
It,
that's the mistake people make.
that is the very
Hmm.
mistake people make.
That's
You're right
right.
about that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I always tell people that the greatest chemistry lab that exists on the face of the earth is your own body, and that they should be their own scientist, their own guinea pig, and their own chemistry lab.
You say the same thing I do. I'm like, this is definitely the greatest chemical factory here. But what people crack up about, I'm like, you know what? There is no meth lab that they can create that's gonna be able to supersede this lab. Yeah, it's incredible.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
I know you have to go soon, and I just really have to ask you, what inspired you to create the documentary, The Business of Disease?
Well, let's see real quickly. I got tired to just kind of sum it all up. I just got tired of people asking me, do I want to donate to breast cancer
Mm.
awareness? And I just really did. And I got tired of those damn pink ribbons everywhere. And so and so I started to think, what is this doing to people's minds? Because the
Right.
first language is symbols,
That's right.
right? And so the pink ribbon, I'm like, this has got to be reprogramming all these people, little girls,
Exactly.
fathers, husbands, brothers, everybody
Mm.
to accept cancer like the common cold. So I set out and I wrote an article called The Marketing of Breast Cancer, the Pink Ribbon Agenda, which I was really surprised. It just like took over. I mean, people, it's all over the internet.
Wow.
And even people who had their breasts removed, said to me, they emailed me and they said, I wish I had seen this article before, because the article does go into a whole bunch of different things, and to really get people to understand what is going on here, and the gradualism of change in our thinking, and and the fear, and so many things. And so it started out with that, and I thought, I should put together a little video, get a few people, do a couple of interviews, like a little YouTube video. That's what I was thinking. But it just turned into this whole other thing.
Wow, that's
It turned
amazing.
into a feature film.
Mm.
That's really what happened. And so, no, I didn't set out to take that journey like that. I allowed it to evolve into this. I just let go, and I'm like, you know what? This film has taken on a life of its own, and it's telling me what it's going to be. So I just kind of um let it. That's kind of what happened, and that's why I did it. So the film isn't really, just because it says the business of disease, it's not a film that is just about, oh, this is what they're doing to us, because people love that. People love to hear what's being done to them. They love to hear how they're being taken advantage
Yeah,
of. They really
right.
want solutions. So so this film talks about that a little bit, but it takes a completely different turn,
Mm.
which is to look at how the body is designed, the brain, just so many different things, how we create, reality. But I used a lot of scientists, a lot of professionals, so that they could speak from a scientific standpoint, so that it wouldn't be eerie fairy or anything like that. So this film really brings a message of, guess what? Take back control of your spirit, mind, and body.
That's power.
Take back control. And we also emphasize like the emotional aspect, which Western medicine doesn't explore, because it's very important for people to understand how that part of yourself, all our issues, all the things we can't let go of, how they actually run your life. The small child you is still, got suffering from whatever somebody told them as a child, or things that happened, how that part of us can run the show, even as an adult. The career you choose, all your choices, based on so much in the subconscious mind, beliefs about ourselves, and are we happy, are we not happy, the social programs, all of those things. And so that's what the film is saying is, guess what? Maybe there is a part of you there that is authentic,
Mm.
that is, how about maybe if you discover that, maybe that may be exactly what you need, to make that change in your life.
Wow. I admire teachers that put the information out there that is simply meant to empower the individual.
I can't even think of any other way to do it. And I think when you've seen and experienced in enough things in your own spiritual growth, it starts to really humble you. You start realizing how much you don't remember,
Mm,
as
that's
much
right.
as you may remember right now. And the people that go, well, I'm the only person that has this information. I'm like, well, have you met everyone? It's just, have you met, or I have what everybody needs. And I think what I love is the fact that there are people who have evolved way beyond anything you and I might know at this moment.
That's
And
right.
that to me, I find to be incredibly awesome. But for me to ever think that what I know is, wow, I'm at that peak, then I might as well not even try. I might not, if this is it, it's just like, why even bother?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's power. You have some very, very amazing articles. The things you write are so amazing. What I'm wanting to ask you is, what's something that's common that you've noticed from people that read your messages?
People just want to feel like free, and that's the responses I get. It's like, you know what, when I read that article, I've just let go.
Freedom.
I just realized, I don't have to be this, whatever the spiritual concept is.
Exactly.
And, you can just, whatever it is. Like I said, I went and got my oil changed today because I needed to. I'm driving to Sacramento at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. I love how you bring your spirituality down to earth. It doesn't have to be all airy-fairy.
Oh, yeah. I had somebody else cracking up. He had called me because he wanted to do a radio show. And I'm like, oh, just 1 second. I was just mopping the floors. And he just started cracking up. He's like, the great Sonia Barrett's mopping the floor. I'm like, yeah, I just got to mop my floor.
What do you think?
Oh, my God. It's funny. Or you
It
answer
is.
the phone and people go, oh, my God, I didn't expect to get you. I'm like, well, it's my phone.
Yeah, it's like, dude, it's my phone.
It's your phone.
Exactly. My phone. I mean, it's not anybody else's.
I know. And this is what we need, is more of this, though, is where people don't have to feel like they have to they're under so much pressure to
That's
be
right.
this thing. Everything you do is about the journey. It's about evolution. So just chill.
Well, I know you got to go soon, and I just want to thank you very, very, very much for taking out time to share with all of the spiritual free thinkers at NSOL Radio your message.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, this has been a real pleasure. It's like kicking back in my living room, and I love it. I love interviews like that where we dialogue that way. So thank you so much, and I admire what you're doing. Very, very awesome. Very awesome. Thank you so much.
Wow, that's got me smiling now. And also, where can we contact you directly?
My website is spiritinform.com. It's spiritinform.com. And the documentary's website is thebusinessofdisease.com. And I can be found, just you plug my name in on YouTube or wherever, and it's easy to find, my information. My email is Sonia, SONIABARR @yahoo.com.
A better tomorrow starts today when you start to think in a certain way. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to struggle. The world is yours. Stop living in a bubble. Hosted by spiritual life coach Robbie Cornelius, NSOL Radio is dedicated to helping spiritual seekers improve the quality of their life experience. We're here to help you think better, feel better, and live better. You're the key to mental, emotional, and spiritual freedom. Listen to NSOL Radio on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher Mobile, or visit NSOLradio.com. That's the letter N, SOLradio.com.